People spend weeks looking for cool neighborhoods here in Seattle just to end up in the wrong place. If you're thinking about moving here and haven't figured out the commute yet, this video could save you a lot of regret. First, let's talk about the biggest commuting mistake I see in Seattle. People pick a neighborhood because it's got that ideal lifestyle, but then they end up paying for it in traffic big time. Now, a lot of folks move to Seattle, they fall in love with Ballard. I get it, it's a fantastic spot. It's got that historic Scandinavian vibe, amazing breweries, top-notch restaurants, and the Ballard locks. You stroll around there and it feels like, yep, this is what I imagine Seattle to be. But if you're working in Redmond at Microsoft or in Kirkland or downtown Bellevue, that commute can really mess with you. We're talking about a commute that can stretch well beyond a half hour once you're fighting your way out of the regional corridors, especially because the official State Route 520 corridor commute alone averages about 31 minutes westbound in the peak evening direction before you even add the Ballard access time. The problem is geometry. To get east from Ballard, you've got to navigate through tight roads and bridges before you even hit the freeway. The Ballard Bridge is one of the key connectors out of Ballard, and the route's dependency on limited bridge crossings is exactly why that commute can bog down. Once you clear that, you've still got the surface streets of North Seattle to deal with before you even hit I-5 or get into 520. So yeah, two problems to solve every single morning. The same story with Queen Anne. It's a beautiful neighborhood with some of the best views in Seattle, close to everything. But again, if you're headed east for work, it's going to slow you down. It's called the Mercer mess for a reason. It's better positioned than Ballard for east side access, but you've still got to consider traffic around those key corridors. And this is something people don't really get until they've lived it. Peak commute times in Seattle are no joke. We're talking roughly 7 to 9 a.m. in the morning, 4 to 6 p.m. at night, when the region's major commute routes are most congested. If you're driving on I-5, 520, or I-90 during those times, you'll definitely feel the pain. Seattle consistently ranks among the country's most traffic congested metro areas, and cross-lake travel is where it hits especially hard. So what should you do instead? If you're commuting to the east side regularly, find a place near the key corridors that serve that commute. 520, I-90, I-5 feeding into those routes. Living near the zone, roughly between I-5, the 520 corridor, and south on the Ship Canal gives you more direct access without all the side street hassle. So honestly, if you're working on the east side 5 days a week, you might want to consider living there too. Bellevue, Kirkland, Redmond, they have everything there for you. So Redmond's growing fast, and with the downtown Redmond Link extension now open, you get a real east side transit option now, and direct rail connection all the way into Seattle. Don't let lifestyle branding distract you. Ballard is awesome, but if you're driving to Redmond every day, you're gonna pay for that choice in stress and frustration. Pick your commute first, find the neighborhood second. And if you're moving to Seattle with a family, you've got specific needs, and that can totally change your perspective on where you should live. But before we get to that, you're probably asking, all right, Maynard, where do I even start? If you're relocating to Seattle and trying to figure out the best spot, that's exactly what my team does every day. Reach out to me. Let's make sure you're in the right spot. My contact info is below. All right, back to family needs. With families, it mostly starts with school, so you need to know the school district map. You move into a beautiful Seattle neighborhood, your kids start school in the fall, and then boom, you realize the elementary school around the corner isn't what you thought it was. Ouch. That is a tough pill to swallow after you've already signed on the dotted line. If you've got kids or you're planning on it, school quality should be at the top of your list when choosing where to live. Luckily, there's a pattern to the geography here, and I'm gonna break it down for you. We have the Ship Canal, that waterway that runs from Ballard through Lake Union. Anything north of that canal tends to include many of Seattle's better known public elementary school options. Just south of the Ship Canal, you have Magnolia, Queen, and Montlake. All great schools. This whole area has a concentration of schools that are widely regarded as strong. View Ridge Elementary over in Northeast Seattle, for example, has a 9 out of 10 rating on great schools. Wedgwood Elementary, Loyal Heights Elementary, also among the higher rated North Seattle options. For some context, Seattle School District shows an average math proficiency score of 57% compared with the statewide average of 41%. Hey, if you're wondering about walkability here, stay tuned. I'll dive into that in just a minute. Anyway, what about south of I-90? There are some great neighborhoods down there, but the public elementary schools generally don't show the same concentration of top grade school ratings as many of the areas north of the Ship Canal. If school quality is a big deal for your family, the north of Canal pattern is worth paying attention to. One more thing to keep in mind, if you end up on the east side for your commute and you're wondering about schools over there, you are in great hands. The Bellevue School District was named the #1 school district in Washington for 2026. Knowing the school geography is one of the most helpful things you can take away today. There's another question families ask me all the time that the school map doesn't answer. It's all about space, and I'll get to that right now. If you want more lands, the city of Seattle probably isn't your answer. A lot of buyers I talk to want a real yard and a little space between homes don't realize that they've already eliminated most of Seattle before the search even starts. It's not because Seattle isn't beautiful, it definitely is. Seattle is built between Puget Sound and Lake Washington with hills, waterways, and green spaces, making it trickier to spread out than a more suburban city. The city's growth plan pushes more density in urban centers, urban villages, and transit-connected growth areas. That's awesome for walkability in the city's energy, but it's not exactly the recipe for larger lots and more privacy between homes. There are definitely pockets in Seattle where you can find that more residential feel and some decent lot sizes. Magnolia is a perfect example. Our kids grew up in Magnolia. It's a beautiful neighborhood, super private, super quiet, and it's perfect for people who really want that. But let me tell you, those pockets are pretty premium and the price reflects that. If space is high on your list, the east side's got a much better menu of options. Bellevue, Kirkland, Redmond were built around more suburban residential patterns. In Bellevue, single-family detached homes account for roughly half of the city's housing stock, even though Bellevue is also one of the east side's most urbanized job centers. Redmond's comprehensive plan explicitly emphasizes neighborhood character, open space, and distinct residential areas. Detached homes, yards, and a quieter, more residential feel are built right into these communities. So if you're picturing a house with a real backyard, some space between you and your neighbors, maybe room for a garden, you'll have a much easier time finding that on the east side. And in most areas, you generally won't be paying a Magnolia or Queen Anne level premium for it. That leads us to the last piece of this puzzle, and honestly, it's the part that surprises most people, the day-to-day difference between life in Seattle versus the east side. The walkability difference between Seattle neighborhoods and the east side is huge. It's actually one of the biggest lifestyle gaps in this area. If you want to walk to your coffee shop, dinner, the park, or the farmer's market, Seattle's got you covered. Neighborhoods like Ballard, Queen Anne, Fremont, Wallingford, Capitol Hill, and Finney Ridge, they've got some of the best walkability you'll find. Ballard, for example, is consistently treated as one of Seattle's most walkable neighborhoods on WalkScore Seattle's rankings. It is a walker's paradise where you don't need a car to run your daily errands. Queen Anne clocks in at 92 on a WalkScore. But these aren't just nice numbers on paper. They represent real daily experiences where you can live most of your life without even thinking about jumping into a car. I've done walking tours through Capitol Hill and all these neighborhoods, and let me tell you, the energy in these neighborhoods is hard to beat. Coffee shops, restaurants, retail, parks, all within a few blocks. That's the Seattle urban experience at its best. But if you're headed over to the east side, you're going to need a car. I'm going to be straight with you on this because a lot of people assume that nice suburb equals walkable, and that's not always the case. Redmond's citywide walk score is 33. Bellevue is 41. Even Kirkland comes in at 51 citywide, which puts it in the somewhat walkable range, but that number still masks how much of the walkability is concentrated in the downtown core of Kirkland. Most of the residential areas, you'll still need a car. But don't get me wrong, there are walkable pockets in downtown Bellevue and downtown Kirkland. If you live in a condo in downtown Bellevue, you've got restaurants, shops, and amenities right at your footstep. Same deal with Kirkland's waterfront area downtown. The east side just doesn't have that same neighborhood by neighborhood consistency that Seattle offers. So here's the key question. Do you want to step out your front door and have everything you need within a few blocks? Or are you okay driving for most errands as long as you've got a great home base and more space? Your answer to that question is going to tell you everything you need to know about where you belong. The wrong neighborhood in Seattle isn't the one that looks bad on a map. It's the one that doesn't match how you actually live. Get that right first and everything else will fall into place. If you're moving to Seattle and you want help matching your situation to the right neighborhood, shoot me an email at hello@mwagnerteam.com or text me at 206-369-8201. I work with people in your position every day and I'll point you in the right direction. Trust me. And hey, I've linked a video right here that shows you which homes are flying off the market right now and which ones are sitting. Turns out some of those walkable neighborhoods with great schools also stay highly competitive, while other areas can move more slowly. You'll want to check that out before you start your search. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.